Inec's refusal to grant Labour parties access to electoral materials, including Bvas, after the Court of Appeal gave order that Inec should allow Labour parties to inspect election materials conducted in February 25th. Inec has not granted them the opportunity to inspect these materials.
How can Peter Obi win any election? Peter Obi is polling 1% in Sokoto, 2% in Katsina, 5% in Kano. That's where the votes are. All states are not equal. The fact that you are doing 70% in Anambra State does not mean somebody doing 10% in Kano is not better than you. Kano is 4 million votes that actually happen. Anambra is what? The number of votes in Anambra is the size of one local government in Kaduna State. So all states are not equal. If you poll states and you make them equal, yes, Peter Obi will sweep the southeastern states. He will do well in South-South. Where else? He's not polling well in Southwest, other than a drop in the ocean in Lagos. He is polling in the Christian enclaves in the north. He's polling well, but how many are they? How many? Peter Obi cannot win the election. He doesn't have the number of states. He doesn't have 25% in more than, the last time we checked, in more than 16 states. He can't go anywhere. Peter Obi is a Nollywood actor, and that's all he will be. This election is between the APC and the PDP because they have the footprint, they have the spread. Ethnicity and religious bigotry will not take you anywhere.
Major candidates in the elections are already complaining, and we had one say the other week that you don't have the capability to transmit the votes once they are voted, to transmit the results electronically.
Well, I don't
to
know
a national
who
database.
I don't know who said so, but look at what we have done. We did the pilot in August 2020 at Nasarawa State in central Nigeria when we conducted a by-election in state constituency. And since then, we piloted the transmission of results in 105 constituencies nationwide, including major governorship elections. We did it in Anambra, we did it in Ekiti and Oshun, we also did it in the Federal Capital Territory. Now, some of them may be small elections in the Nigerian context, but the state with the least number of registered voters in places where we transmitted election results is Ekiti. But Ekiti has more registered voters than Gambia and Cape Verde put together. So we are happy with the pilot that we have conducted, and we're reasonably confident in the strength of the processes.
I mean, even in rural areas.
The machine on election day doesn't rely on the internet to accredit voters. It works offline. Now, when it comes to transmission of results, that's why you need network. But if there's no network in the immediate vicinity, the scanned image of the polling unit level results, which is taken using the Bvas, will be transmitted as soon as the staff move from the polling units to the collection centers. And we have been working with the major telecom companies in Nigeria, and we are satisfied that the number of blind spots can be addressed in the country, and the number of blind spots where you have no network is really small.
So don't do double packing.
This courtroom packed full with party supporters and politicians, including Peter Obi of the Labour Party. Tension is high as people await the Court of Appeal's ruling on whether INEC can reconfigure its electoral machines Bvas or not to do so ahead of Saturday's governorship and state houses of assembly polls. Obi, along with Atiku Abubakar of the PDP who contested in the presidential elections, had expressed fears about INEC's application seeking to reset the Bvas machines ahead of this weekend's state-level elections. The three-member panel, led by Joseph Ikie, however, granted permission to INEC to reconfigure the Bvas for the next round of polls, but directed INEC to ensure that it uploads the February 25th presidential results data to its back-end server and make certified true copies available for all respondents. In what looked like a win-win for all parties, the court also maintained its earlier order made on March 3rd, allowing Obi and Atiku to inspect sensitive electoral materials. It also went ahead to grant presidential candidate of the APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, access to inspect the same sensitive electoral materials for the defense of his case. The ruling brought some respite for lawyers representing the different parties in court.
The fears of Nigerians is allayed because we're going to conduct governorship election as scheduled by INEC. we have 2 elections on that day. Governorship election and state houses assembly election. These are what we are going to conduct on the 11th of March, inshallah.
The reliefs granted by the court on the 3rd of March 2023 stand. In other words, they have to comply with the orders of court and allow us have access. And we need just 7 days to have all that we need. Because without exercising our right to have access to all these reliefs I've mentioned, that simply means that our petition is indirectly being affected.
The good news is that the initial order of the court made on the 3rd of March, permitting Peter Gregory Obi and Labour Party to inspect the facilities of INEC, including the Bvas machine, which they intend to use to prove their petition. Those orders are sustained. The application seeking to vary it was refused.
All is now set for the parties to conduct their forensic examination of the ballot papers and other electronic documents and materials used by the electoral body on election day, as Nigerians await the commencement of hearing for what many have termed an interesting legal battle ahead.
Okay, good evening. The Court of Appeal just gave a ruling on, of course, what Nigerians have been expecting to hear, to ascertain whether the March 11 elections would actually, governorship elections will actually continue in a few days' time. But of course, they've given the Labour Party and its presidential candidate leave to actually inspect, this materials. Of course, the February 25th presidential election materials. Standing with me here in court is one of the lead lawyers of the Labour Party, and its presidential candidate. Alex Ejisemie, who joined me here now to say a little about what transpired in court today, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, please, just a little detail about the ruling and then how it affects the entirety of the whole process, the electoral process.
Okay, yesterday the Independent National Electoral Commission brought an application to vary the order which was made by the Court of Appeal on the 4th of March. Interestingly, the Court of Appeal this evening refused to vary that order. But what is worrisome to us is that the courts, in their own application, allowed them to reconfigure the Bvas machine, according to them, for purposes of the March 11th governorship election in the country. Well, INEC gave an undertaking that they have a back-end server that will protect every data. So we are going to hold them accountable. They said they have a back-end server. So we are going to hold them accountable if anything will happen to any of the information as contained in the Bvas machine. So that is essentially what transpired in court today.
So generally, what do you think the implication of this? What do you think the implication is about this whole?
Well, we are not too comfortable with that. We are not too comfortable that the court will allow them to reconfigure. But the court has spoken, and there's nothing we can do about it. We had expected that INEC should have separate Bvas for separate elections, because when you allow them to reconfigure, how sure are we that the information stored already will be protected during the course of the reconfigure? So these are the fears we have, but the court had spoken and the INEC had given an undertaking that nothing will happen to the information stored in the Bvas machine. So that is our position.
Okay, the ruling of the court today, does it have any constitutional implications whatsoever in terms of looking at the law and the constitution itself? Do you think that this is a very good move for the Labour Party and of course its presidential candidates?
Well, we are going to review when we get to our office. We are going to discuss with our candidates and the team of lawyers, and we decide what next to do with respect to the ruling. That's all I can tell you for now.
Thank you very much.
All right, well,
thank you.
I will generally praised the Court of Appeal for refusing INEC attempts to vary the judgment that allowed the party to inspect the materials used for election. Our major concern is that aspect where the court granted INEC the opportunity not to allow us to inspect Bvas. Our concern really stems from the fact that INEC these days is not trusted. INEC will make one promise from one side of their mouth and then swallow their vomit tomorrow. You recall that in 2019, INEC equally promised that they had a server, only for those servers not to be available when litigants wanted to inspect the server that they said they have. INEC have gone out of their way to assure and reassure Nigerians again and again and again that election results will be uploaded directly from the polling unit to their server, and that people are going to view these results from their server. But you could see that when it was time for people to start uploading the results, INEC said they had a technical issue, even where they have explained to Nigerians that they had backup servers that will roll off and begin to work immediately, even where the main server is having a technical issue. So all of this brings us to the point that even though INEC has assured us and the courts in their affidavits, a counter affidavit, to say that the records in the Bvas will be saved in their back-end server, we have our doubts, because this is not the first time INEC will be telling us that they have server, they will upload to their server, and so on and so forth. But the courts in their wisdom have given them that privilege, and you could see that immediately they got that judgment yesterday, they shifted the election. So if they knew they were going to postpone the governorship election for a week, why did they go to court to go and vary the order? There was absolutely no need for it, because one of the reasons they gave to the court was that if they allow us to inspect Bvas, it will definitely affect the timelines for the election. But surprisingly, after getting the courts to grant them that request to configure the Bvas, you saw that they immediately shifted the election. So one has a lot of doubts about the truthfulness, about the patriotism, about the character, about the behavior, about the integrity of INEC to do what is right. It is pertinent to put on record that I have always, in all my interviews, go and check, express confidence in INEC, but their behavior and the manner and the way in which they handled the last election have destroyed the confidence completely which I have in INEC. And so let's see what they will do again. Let's see the stories they will come up with tomorrow. Tomorrow is here, it's not far. And I want to say that since that order was made, that we should be given the opportunity to inspect election materials, the INEC have not allowed us access till now. We've not been able to inspect materials. Our lawyers have been going there on daily basis. Our technical experts have been going there on daily basis, and we've not been allowed access. And so at times you begin to wonder if this institution, INEC, is really working for the people, or they are working for themselves, or they are working for some people somewhere. So the behavior of INEC is really worrisome, it's disturbing, and I want to say, without pretending about it, that if INEC tells me they are going to Lagos, I'll go and look for them in Sokoto. Well, the truth of the matter was that we were ready for those elections. We're ready to follow the timelines. Our supporters are already on the field. Our agents are in the field. People are in the. We are ready. We are ready for the elections. But you see, it's INEC who is a law unto itself. When political parties could not upload forms for candidates, INEC said they had a timeline and refused to accede to political party to grant an extension. When we were to upload polling unit agents and political parties, it's not as if we couldn't even meet up. INEC gave 20th and reduced it to 17th. After series of plea, INEC insisted on that 17th date. INEC said they had a timeline. It will affect the timelines for election. But you could see that with impunity, the governorship elections are postponed and shifted. So INEC does what it likes. INEC seems to be an authority unto himself. INEC is working for itself and their masters. I don't think they are working for the people. So they feel that they are not accountable to the people, and so they have become authoritative. They fix dates as they wishes. They alter it at their own time. And Nigerians are watching. But I believe very strongly that very soon in this country, the people will definitely have a say. Well, I want to advise INEC that whoever they think that their pale masters will be, the people definitely, ultimately will have their say. So I advise them that they should be on the part of the people. Democracy is about the people, and therefore they must at all times remember the wishes and aspirations of the people. Nigerians trusted INEC. Nigerians believed them, believe all their stories, and they have disappointed Nigerians in this 2023 general election. I want to advise INEC that it's in their collective interest to reconsider the paths that they are currently doing.